Woody or Forrest Gump meets Magneto. But the saddest part about this movie is he did not meet Otto One. That was a very sad shame indeed. And yes, Hanuu Makinen, I'm finally gonna keep my promise for you. That I will do this movie review at long last. Well, anyway, hi ladies and dudes, this is Rebecca Lynn Barkley, aka Boobop 1987. This is my review for today. And today, finally at long last, I'm finally going to do this movie review. The one I've been waiting for from last year. And I'm finally gonna complete the Robert Lyndon series that featured Mr. Tom Hanks, aka Woody or Forrest Gump, whichever character you prefer, that he did play in his previous years as an actor. So here we go, ladies and dudes. My next movie review is The Vinci Code. And I will say, for all three of the rankings of all three of the Robert Lyndon films that I did see from last year and now this year, or whatever you want to say, I will say Da Vinci Code will deserve to be in third place, while Inferno deserved to be in second place, but the first place will always belong to Angels and Demons. Best movie ever, in my opinion. That's for sure. So anyway, without further ado, ladies and dudes, here is my next movie review of Da Vinci Code, that featured Mr. Tom Hanks, aka Woody or Forrest Gump, and also Mr. Magneto and Otto One. And yeah, it's a strange fun fact is you got two actors who did get involved in the Marvel's universe. That's for sure. So, anyway, let's head on to the main plot of the story. All I could say about the main plot of the story is it's a story about this professor guy who is also a novelist named Robert Lyndon, who is going on one crazy adventure of his life in Paris, France, to solve an unknown mystery here and there that involves the Da Vinci Code and some type of mysterious person who is some type of bloodline that came from Mr. Jesus. Yeah, I know, that is a weird plot for the story. It's kind of hard for me to say, so I think I'll go ahead and cut this plot nice and short. So that's all I could say about the main plot of the story, and I guess everybody wants to know is, what the heck do I think about this movie called The Da Vinci Code? Well, to tell you the truth is, ladies and dudes, I really did like this movie. And yes, an interesting fun fact about this movie, it is truly the second part of the Robert Lyndon series. It is the second story indeed. And yes, the strangest part about this movie is something that was in the book, that there's no part of the story about what happened to Victoria, after the events of Angels and Demons. So yeah, Sally Victoria wasn't featured in the Da Vinci Code storyline. Maybe my main guess is, I guess she and Robert broke up for some unknown reason. They never explained it. That's for sure. And yes, this is the very first film that started it all for the Robert Lyndon series. That's for sure. So yeah, I will say this is a pretty darn enjoyable film to watch, but the saddest part is there's a few flaws I did found with this film. Something that really did bother me very darn much. So I will say it had a pretty good storyline for the most part. The characters are likable, good casting, good cinematography. I love the sceneries and highlight moments of the film. It had a really good score, and also a couple of fun facts to be found in this film, surprisingly to say. So anyway, let's head on to my strongest points and the weakest points of the Da Vinci Code. I will say for my strongest point for this movie, it has to be this guy, Mr. Ian McKellen. I will say he's really the strongest point in the movie, in my opinion. And I think I know why. It's his performance and the role of the character. Playing an old teacher that Robert Lyndon knew from the past. I will say this guy, he is so much fun to watch. I mean, he had a really good storyline. He had a great personality, great attitude. I will say that Ian McKellen had a blast with this film. And I think he really did steal the show for me. I think he's one of the best characters I have ever seen that was based by a book. And yeah, I know the plot twist is kind of weird. Something that us, the fans, did not see coming. That's for sure. So, to cut this short, about the strongest point of the movie is I enjoyed Ian McKellen's performance and the role of an old friend and teacher. You know, a guy who knew Robert Lyndon pretty darn well. If you know what I mean. And now, ladies and dudes, it is time for some interesting fun facts that you did not know about the Da Vinci Code. Or the Robert Lyndon series itself. Well, if you pay attention to all three of the Robert Lyndon films that feature Tom Hanks, you gotta pay attention to this main character very darn carefully. Because there's one important thing, or a few important things, that these three films have in common. If you pay attention to this main character very carefully, you can tell he is wearing the Mickey Mouse watch, and also he wore brown shoes. And besides, he never changed anything about himself. Not the watch, and not the shoes. So don't forget to pay attention to all three of the films that feature those two important things about the main character himself. And speaking of Robert Lyndon, if you pay attention to all three of the films very carefully, from the Da Vinci Code and Inferno, this is the part of the film where Robert Lyndon did become a professor 100%. You know, he became a professor all the way through from start to finish for only 2 films and 2 films only. And also, from my favorite film in the whole world, from Angels and Demons, you know my favorite part about the movie is he became a professor by day and he disguised himself as a priest by night. Yeah. My favorite plot twist, foreshadowing moment, and one of my favorite big lip alligator moments that ever happened in movie history. So yeah, he became 50% of himself for this film. Yeah, that's something you gotta pay attention of if you ever watch Angels and Demons, and since it is one of my favorite films of all time, and the one I watched multiple times. That's for sure. And yes, ladies and dudes, here's another interesting fun fact you should know about the Da Vinci Code, or the Robert Lyndon series all the way through from start to finish. Yes, it is true that Ron Howard and Tom Hanks, they did work together before. And that is the Apollo 13. You know, the Apollo 13, one of the most greatest films of all time, and that came from in the year of 1995. And yeah, speaking of that film, it's going to become 30 years old of this year, surprisingly to say. And also, I got another interesting fun fact you should know about the Robert Lyndon films. Mr. Dan Brown himself. He may be the author for all these books, But the surprising thing is he became a producer for all three of these films. Surprisingly to say. And yeah, the heartbreaking fun fact about the Robert Lyndon series that featured Tom Hanks. The Lost Symbol and Origin had never made it to become films. Surprisingly to say. Sad shame, don't you think? He never made The Lost Symbol or The Origin. Yeah, I finally got this book for $1, and I will say this book is pretty good. It's good. So, yeah, that's it, ladies and dudes. Those are the fun facts I really did found for the Robert Lyndon series. That's for sure. And now let's go on to the most weakest point of the movie. 2. I got 2 main weak points in the film. I hate to say it. It's poor Mr. Otto 1, aka Alfred Molina. Well, don't get me wrong, I do appreciate his performance in the role of the character, but the saddest part about his, being a part of the Da Vinci Code is he only has I can't remember, it's 7 or 8 scenes of the movie, and he wasn't there much in the film. I feel bad for poor Alfred Molina. He should deserve better than this. That's for sure. And the saddest part about Alfred Molina's character is he never got a chance to meet Tom Hanks' character in person. What will happen if his character and Tom Hanks' character ever met each other in this movie? And what type of scene it's going to be for these two? Yeah. Too bad Dan Brown or Ron Howard had never thought about the idea of getting those two actors to meet each other in this film. I feel kind of bummed out for it. I really want to see Forrest Gump or Woody to meet Otto 1. And maybe that way he could complete 2 people who got involved with the Marvel's universe films. If you know what I mean. So anyway, those are my major weak points for the Da Vinci Code. Just 2 main weak points only. And I will say about the characters, yeah, Tom Hanks did a good job as Robert Lyndon, and he'll always be the best Robert Lyndon we're ever going to get for an adaptation that was based by a book. Yeah, he had a good storyline, great personality, great attitude, and yeah, he's so freaking gorgeous in this film. Did anybody know that Tom Hanks could play a gorgeous looking character in a film? Yeah, surprisingly to say. Yep, we can't find another actor out there who could play Robert Lyndon than Tom Hanks. And everybody else did a pretty good job with this film as well. I do like the lady who played Sophie. Ian McKellen is really the best part about this movie, hands down. I will say the guy who played the monk is okay for the most part, but this guy is way too creepy for my taste, including when he tortured himself in a room. That's too darn scary. I like the dude who played the private eye, and I feel bad for Alfred Molina. He only had a small role in this film, sadly to say. So I want to go ahead and tell you about my final thoughts of the Da Vinci Code. Overall, the Da Vinci Code is really a very good movie, but sadly it has some flaws here and there. But it's a very darn good movie to watch, and yet this movie it did get featured in 2006. Well, you guys get the picture. Yes, it is a very good movie to watch and a good adaptation that was based by a book. It had a really good storyline for the most part. The characters are likable, except for one character I feel sorry for that did not have much role in the film. It has good sceneries and highlight moments of the film, the mystery is pretty good. It had a really good score. It has a very good ending to it. And yeah, it's 50-50 trying to stay faithful to the original book for what I was told from the book that was in the film. Yeah, that's for sure. So I decided to give this film an 8.5 out of 10. Well, Hanuu, Makinen, I hope you enjoy all three of the movie reviews I did to feature Robert Lyndon. And let me hear your main thoughts about these three important films, that featured the Robert Lyndon series. Finally, I got it done at long last. Hallelujah to that. So that is my whole entire movie review of the Da Vinci Code. I hope you enjoyed this movie review. And tell me, ladies and dudes, what is your favorite Dan Brown book of all time? And what is your favorite Robert Lyndon book of all time in your very own opinion? Well, whichever it is, leave a comment there and let me know. And join me next time for more movie reviews to come. I don't know what's it going to be yet for season 14. But I'll let you know that coming really, really soon in the main future. That's for sure. So, I'll see you all later, and sayonara.